L'honorable député de Foothills.
With plummeting polls in Atlantic Canada, this Prime Minister is panicked, desperate, and making it up as he goes along. Only a year ago, Liberal MPs voted against a Conservative motion to axe a carbon tax from home heating. What a difference a year makes. I know my farmers in Alberta are sure wondering what it takes for them to get some relief from this Prime Minister's carbon tax. But yesterday, the Prime Minister admitted that his carbon tax is unaffordable. So how much worse do the polls have to get for the Prime Minister to axe his carbon tax for all Canadians?
Hear, hear. L'honorable ministre de l'Environnement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When we came into power in 2015, projected emissions growth in Canada, so pollution levels was going to increase to 80 million tons by 2030. We brought this down 80 million tons, more than 80 million tons, in fact, and since then, we've reduced it by another 50 million tons, Mr. Speaker. So that's more than 100 million tons of pollutions that Canada won't have to endure because of us, despite the Conservative Party of Canada. We're only getting started, Mr. Speaker. We have a plan to fight climate change and to help Canadians with affordability. We'll keep going at it.
L'honorable député de Foothills.
While the Prime Minister presses pause on his carbon tax in Atlantic Canada, the Liberals are blocking a Conservative bill that will exempt the carbon tax from on-farm fuels, making food more affordable. I guess the desperate pleas of Canadian farmers don't have the same weight as the Prime Minister's plummeting polls in Atlantic Canada. But let's be clear. Putting a pause is only a move of desperation for this Prime Minister, who will double down, as this Minister just said, on his pledge to quadruple the carbon tax. Again, the Prime Minister's admitted his carbon tax is unaffordable. When will he axe his carbon tax for all Canadians?
L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire.
Mr. Speaker, as my father used to say, when you point the fingers, there's always 3 fingers pointing back at you. When it came time to decrease funding to farmers, the Leader of the official opposition sat on his hand at the cabinet table. When it came time to increase funding to farmers, all Conservatives MPs sat on their hands. And on C-234, if it was so important for the Leader of the official opposition, he should have sat on his hand and worked a little harder.
L'honorable député de Foothills.
The Liberals don't care about food costs or affordability. Canadians are struggling to put food on the table after 8 years of this Liberal NDP government. Almost 2 million Canadians accessed a food bank in March. That's up 79% from March of 2019. A third of those people using food banks are children, and almost 20% of Canadian families are food insecure. A Prime Minister who is in desperation mode is not worth the cost. Again, the Prime Minister has admitted his carbon tax is unaffordable. When will he axe that tax for all Canadians so they can afford to put food on the table?
L'honorable ministre.
Mr. Speaker, we know that right now many Canadian families are struggling with increased costs. Last night, I was speaking with Faye, and Faye shared with me that he came to Canada with his family 5 years ago from Syria. And he shared the impact that the Canada Child Benefit had on his family, enabled them to ensure that they could buy food and the things that their children needed. This is one story, Mr. Speaker, of the 3.5 million Canadian families that receive this benefit each and every month.
The
honourable member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Mr. Speaker, 800,000 Quebecers are resorting to food banks every month. That's 1 Quebecer in 10. 30% more in 1 year, 73% more than in 2019. And what's worse, 70% of food banks are running short of food. And the Liberals want to hike the carbon tax, which will increase the cost of everything. When will the Prime Minister scrap the second carbon tax of 20 cents a litre that he's imposed on all Quebecers?
L'honorable ministre.
The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank my colleague for his question. And it's clear, Mr. Speaker, We are in the heat of the action. We're stabilizing grocery prices for Canadians. There's the Canada Child Benefit, which continues to put money in the pockets of Canadians and Quebecers. Mr. Speaker, the carbon tax doesn't apply in Quebec, and the member knows that full well. Mr. Speaker, we are here to support Quebecers and Canadians, and we will continue getting the job done. The honourable member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Well, they're missing in action because yesterday in a newspaper article it said that over 800,000 Quebecers are resorting to food banks. It's a national embarrassment. That's the legacy of 8 years of Liberal government. And further on it says the face of poverty is changing. Workers, women, students, university students are all resorting to food banks. The Liberals are plummeting in the polls. Will the Prime Minister scrap the second carbon tax that he's imposed on all Quebecers, yes or no?
L'honorable ministre.
Mr. Speaker, once again, on this side of the House, we recognize that many Canadian families are facing challenges. Just last week, I had the opportunity to visit the Eden Food for Change in the riding of Mississauga Erin Mills. And that institution, that organization, helps to feed individuals each and every day. Through the Community Services Recovery Fund, we've put $400 million into these community organizations to help address these problems.